Okay, so get this. Inside your body, right this very second, there are trillions of cells, and they're all talking to each other. It's like this huge secret social network that's running the show. Everything from your heartbeat to what you're thinking about right now. And today, we're going to peek behind the curtain and listen in on that conversation.
So that brings us to the big question, right? I mean, think about it. You're made of trillions of tiny individual cells, but somehow you operate as, well, you, a single person. How in the world does that work? How does a cell way down in your big toe get the memo from a cell up in your brain? It sounds like a logistical nightmare, but it's happening all the time. While the answer has a name, it's called cell signaling. And you can pretty much think of it like a biological postal service. Cells are constantly sending out these little messenger molecules, and other cells are picking them up. It's this nonstop chatter that makes everything work together, transforming a massive collection of individual cells into, well, you.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How are these messages actually being sent? Well, it turns out cells have different ways of communicating, kind of like we do. They can whisper to a neighbor, or they can shout a message across the entire body. Let's break down these different styles. First up, we've got autocrine signaling. This one's pretty simple. It's basically a cell talking to itself. You can think of it like leaving yourself a reminder on a sticky note. The cell sends out a signal, and then it picks up that same signal. It's a super important way for a cell to regulate its own activity, telling itself, hey, maybe slow down a bit, or all right, let's kick it into high gear.
Then there's paracrine signaling. Now this is more of a local chat, like leaning over the backyard fence to talk to your neighbor. The messenger molecules don't go very far. They just diffuse a short distance to the cells right next door. It's all about coordinating action in a specific neighborhood of the body.
And finally, we have the big one, endocrine signaling. Think of this as the body's nationwide broadcast system. Here, the messengers, which we usually call hormones, get dumped right into the bloodstream. That means they can travel all over the body to find their targets, even if they're super far away. This is exactly how something like adrenaline, released from a tiny gland, can almost instantly affect your heart, your lungs, and your muscles all at once. It's incredibly powerful.
All right, so we've got all these messages zipping around the body. But how does a cell actually hear them? I mean, a message is pretty useless if there's no one on the other end to receive it, right? And that's where our next heroes come in, the molecular gatekeepers. See, for any of this to work, the cell that's supposed to get the message needs a special protein called a receptor. It's basically a lock on the cell's surface. And the messenger molecule, we call that the ligand, is the key. It's super specific. Only the right key will fit into that particular lock. If a cell doesn't have the right receptor, that message just sails on by, totally ignored. And among all these different types of receptors, there are two families that are absolute superstars. They're the main characters of our story today. First, you've got the G-protein coupled receptors, or GPCRs. We'll call them the relay team. It's one long protein that kind of snakes its way through the cell membrane 7 times. And then we have the receptor tyrosine kinases, or RTKs. These guys are the power couple, 2 separate proteins that have to team up to make things happen. So let's dive into our first character, the GPCR. Now, when this receptor gets a message, it doesn't just sit there. No, it kicks off this incredible lightning-fast relay race inside the cell.
And you just won't believe how important these GPCRs are. I mean, it's the single largest family of receptors in our entire genome. Just look at the stuff they can detect. Hormones, neurotransmitters, the molecules that let you smell and taste, heck, even photons of light. Seriously, the only reason you can see anything at all is because of a GPCR in your eyes. They are just incredibly versatile.
Okay, so let's break down this relay race. Step 1, the messenger molecule, the ligand, docks onto the receptor on the outside. Boom. Step 2, that connection causes the receptor to change shape and flip a switch on a partner protein inside, called a G protein. It's now on. Step 3, this newly activated G protein literally splits in 2, and one piece, our first runner, sprints away. And finally, step 4, that runner tags another protein, which then creates a brand new second messenger inside the cell. The baton has been passed and the signal continues on its way. Okay, so that was the relay team. Now let's talk about our other superstar, the power couple, aka the receptor tyrosine kinase, or RTK. Their whole strategy is different. Instead of a single relay race, this is all about a powerful team-up. Now, before we get into how they work, there's one key word you need to know: dimerization. It sounds fancy, I know, but it's actually super simple. It's just what happens when two separate molecules, in this case, the two halves of our power couple, come together to form a working pair. That pair is called a dimer, and for an RTK, this is always the very first step. So here's the play-by-play for the team up. Step 1, the signal molecule shows up and basically glues the two halves of the receptor together. They dimerize. Step 2 is really cool. They activate each other by slapping on these high-energy phosphate groups. It's like they're giving each other a power-up. This action, in Step 3, creates a whole docking platform. All those new phosphate groups become landing pads for other proteins. And that brings us to Step 4. All sorts of different proteins can now land on this platform, get activated, and then zoom off to start multiple signaling chains all at the same time. It's not just a relay race, it's more like a full-blown mission control center launching a dozen missions at once. And because RTKs can launch this massive coordinated response, they're usually in charge of the really big decisions for a cell. We're talking about fundamental stuff like, should we grow and divide? Or what kind of cell should I become? Or even, is it time to live or die? These aren't just minor adjustments. These are the major commands that shape the life of a cell. Okay, so we've been deep in the weeds with these molecular machines, but why does any of this actually matter to us in our daily lives? Well, it's because these tiny little receptors are at the absolute center of health, disease, and pretty much all of modern medicine. This quote really nails it. What a GPCR does all depends on which G protein is partnered with on the inside. That specificity is a gold mine for drug designers. They can create a drug that only targets the GPCRs in your heart or only the ones involved in allergies. In fact, get this, it's estimated that somewhere between a third and even a half of all modern drugs work by targeting a specific type of GPCR. That's just astounding. And here's just a quick peek at them in action. We already talked about the photoreceptors in your eye that let you see. That's a GPCR. The receptor in your heart that tells it to slow down, that's a GPCR. And the adrenal receptors that respond to adrenaline and give you that fight-or-flight rush, you guessed it, another GPCR. They are literally everywhere, doing some of the most important jobs in your body. So what about our power couple, the RTKs? Well, remember how they're in charge of cell growth and division? That's obviously super important. But you can probably imagine what happens when that system goes wrong. When their signaling gets stuck in the on position, you get uncontrolled cell growth. And that is a classic hallmark of many cancers. It's exactly why so many cutting-edge cancer drugs are designed to do one thing: block these out-of-control RTKs. With great power comes great risk. So it all comes down to this. If these receptors are the gatekeepers that control the entire conversation inside our bodies, what happens when we finally become fluent in their language? By understanding how they talk, we're not just listening in anymore. We're learning how to rewrite the conversation. We can fix the typos that lead to disease and even write completely new sentences that promote health. The future of medicine isn't some far-off idea. It's happening right now, at the front door of every single one of our cells.